For many mums and dads, having a child with a food allergy can be really hard work, particularly if the child is dairy intolerant. But not many parents would go to the lengths of creating a whole new product because of their child's condition. Well, one man who has is Hamish Renton. Hamish, hello.
Hello.
Firstly, tell me a little bit about how this dessert came about.
Well, it's quite simple, really. My daughter was 6 and she was getting red, blotchy skin and she was getting an upset stomach. And one of the things we found out was, through consultations with GPs, was that there was a possibility she had an intolerance. So we sent her away for a test, got a test, did the test, and eagerly awaited the results. And what we found was she was actually diagnosed as dairy intolerant. And we thought, when we were opening the envelope for the test results, and thinking, crikey, what do we do? Where do we start with that? And then, of course, the thing that you most want from the world when you're 6 is to be just the same as everybody else. So she wanted to eat the same food as her brothers, have the same sort of desserts and puddings and breads and milks as her classmates, which of course she couldn't have. So we started working in the kitchen to see if we could actually produce a soya-based dessert. And there wasn't anything in the world, so there were no chilled dairy-free desserts. So we started, using soya milk rather than cream or milk to produce a range of puddings that we call Nomoo for this specific need.
Well, of course, it must have also made a huge difference to your life.
Yes, that's right. My other half has got some intolerances and I've got a dairy intolerance myself. So what we've done with the range is try and mimic all the popular flavours. So we've got a chocolate flavour, a lemon, a strawberry and a big vanilla custard. That's just the same as the best-selling standard desserts. Because the big issue is kind of people feeling slightly ostracised, people feeling like a little bit odd by eating some of this stuff. So we've made Nomoo quite funky, quite fresh, kind of kid-focused. But the really interesting thing is, in doing that, what we found is, yes, little kids have had it, but also big kids have started to have it too. And kind of mum and dad will snaffle one from the fridge as well as the nippers. So it's kind of quite interesting comparing where we set out from.
Hamish, thank you very much indeed. Now, the issue of children with food allergies is one that worries many parents. So here's Dr. Rob Hicks with the answers to some commonly asked questions.
Food allergies are certainly more common now than in previous years, and it's not entirely clear why that should be the case. Certainly, awareness of food allergies has increased, so of course people are going to come forward, be diagnosed, and that's going to increase the numbers, but that's not the whole story. It may well be that people are now being exposed to foods in greater quantities, and this is actually providing sufficient exposure for the immune system to react and cause the symptoms of allergy. It may be related, like with other allergies, to the hygiene hypothesis, and this is the theory that we're so protective of our children, we don't try not to expose them to anything that we fear may be harmful, that the immune system just isn't learning correctly which things are genuinely harmful to them or in fact are actually safe. Because with an allergy, what happens is the immune system responds to something that it perceives to be a threat, when in fact it's actually harmless. So a protein in food, for example, pollen, cat hairs, dog hairs, the dung of the house dust mite, these are all allergens which for most people are perfectly harmless. But for those who are sensitized to these, the immune system reacts, and of course come the miserable and often life-threatening symptoms of food allergy. Well, with food allergy, it's usually quite clear that a child has become allergic to the food, because with food allergies, the symptoms come on very rapidly, very, very quickly. And that might be problems with a rash, for example, or it might be that their lips swell, or their face swells. And in the worst case scenario, their lips, their mouth, their face and their throat swells such that the child has difficulty in breathing. And this is the most feared anaphylactic shock. With regards to food intolerant, it's more difficult because the symptoms of food intolerance tend to come on more slowly. It may take hours or even up to days before the symptoms arise. And these tend to affect the gut. So there's bloating, there's a lot of wind, there may be diarrhea. And the relationship to specific foods with food intolerance often isn't that clear. With food allergy, it's usually quite clear. They have the certain food, they get the symptoms. With food intolerance, it can be a much more complex issue trying to make an accurate diagnosis. But the important thing is that parents, if they're worried, that they seek professional medical advice, that they try and keep a symptom food diary to record what foods their child has had and what symptoms they may have developed and on what time frame, because that helps narrow down which are the suspect foods and which foods may need to be eliminated or removed from the diet.
Dr. Rob Hicks there, with advice that I hope will help those of you who have or know children with allergies. Well, all that it remains for me to do is to thank Hamish Renton for joining us in the studio today.
Thank you.
And to thank those of you for watching at home. Goodbye.